All right, students, 4.2. I'm not sure what happened. It just kind of cut out. But what we were doing was we were actually going to start, we're going to start creating, start graphing. So let's go. We have everything that we need for graphing. So a couple things, I am going to go ahead and color coordinate these. And our AOS, I'm going to use blue. Remember, our AOS is that dotted line, that vertical dotted line. And so we know it's at a -1. Okay. And then our vertex is -1, -4. So I'm going to use, I'll use pink. -1, go down 4 units. So there's a point there. And then we said our y-intercept is 0, -3. So 0, -3, 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Now remember, step 3 says y-intercept, and then we want to reflect. So we know that our y-intercept is 2 units away from the line of reflection, not the y-axis, the line of reflection. And it's 2 units to the left of the line of the AOS. Okay. So that means we're going to count 2 units to the right, and that will give us a reflection. So if it's 2 units to the left, then we're going to start here and go 2 units to the right. And then we have enough information to draw a parabola. Now we're not done, because the question is solve by graphing. So we want to solve by graphing. And remember, wherever it crosses the x-axis at, those are your solutions. So we have 2 solutions. This is an example of 2 solutions. And our solutions are 0, -3. And it looks to me like, sorry, -3. Let me rewrite this. Our 2 solutions are -3 and +1. Okay. I don't know what I was giving. Those are just the coordinates. But wherever it crosses, those are your answers. So x equals -3 and +1. So this, again, is method 1, solve by graphing. We've already learned the factoring method. So here's method 2. And I just want to show you that if you do whatever method you decide to do, we're going to get the same answer. Okay. So method 2, again, we have x squared plus 2x minus 3 is equal to 0. If I use the x method, -3 goes on top, 2 on bottom. And you'll notice we have 3 and -1, because 3 times the -1 is -3. 3 minus 1 gives me 2. So I'm going to set this up. X plus 3, x minus 1 equals 0. And set them both equal to 0, and we can solve. So here's -3 and +1. Isn't that the exact same thing we did here? Yes. But we're going to solve by graphing, because that's what it's asking us to do. Solve by graphing. Okay. If it just says to solve, then of course you can choose any method you wish. But I just wanted to show you that we've already talked about factoring and solving. We've already talked about graphing. We already know how to graph, and now we're actually solving, and we're trying to find out where it crosses. So a couple things. This is what we call 2 solutions, and your 2 solutions are -3 and +1. Okay. Let's go ahead and do this one more time. Okay, we're going to do the exact same thing. And again, I'm going to show you both methods just so that we have an idea of what this will look like. Okay. X squared minus 8x equals -16. So we're going to add 16. X squared minus 8x plus 16 is equal to 0. We know a couple of things. This is opening up. We also know that the AOS, so we're going to do step 1, find the AOS. Remember, it's x equals negative b, so a is 1, b is negative 8, c is 16. Okay, so x equals negative b, which is a negative, negative 8, negative 2 times a, 2 times 1, so we end up with 8 divided by 2, that gives me 4. Step 2 says find your vertex. So this is 4. Remember, this is nothing, this is not anything new. Okay, we've done this before. Let's go ahead and take this 4 and plug it into our equation. So we have 4 squared minus 8 times 4 plus 16. You end up with 16 minus 32 plus 16. And if you add that up, we end up with negative 16, positive 16. That gives me 0. Okay, so the last thing we want to know is our step 3 is our y-intercept. Remember, our y-intercept is our c value, so it is 16. Okay, so it's going to cross our y-axis at positive 16. So what I'm going to do on the y-axis is go by increments of 2. So let's go ahead and so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so we know it crosses at positive 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Our vertex is 4, 0, so 1, 2, 3, 4. It crosses at 0, 16. Okay, remember we are reflecting, so it's, if you're looking here, it's going over 1, 2, 3, 4 units to the left, 4 units to the right. So 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna add one more. Again, if you had graph paper, this will look much better. Okay, so we're reflecting, and you have a nice wide graph. Okay, mine's a little crooked, but oops. Okay. All right, so method 2, we said the X method. So I'm going to do just that. And I just want to make sure, sorry, notice how this right here, students, we call this one solution. One solution, and it crosses the x-axis at 4. Okay, so let's see what that looks like if we do it algebraically. This is it done graphically. So x squared minus 8x plus 16 is equal to 0. Factor method says 16 on top, negative 8 on bottom. And then we end up with negative 4, negative 4. X minus 4 is equal to 0, and then we set them both equal to 0. And that's where we get x equals 4. This is repeated roots because you get 4 for both. So these actually match up. Again, we call this a one solution. Okay. All right, almost done. Our last one is C. Negative x equals 2x plus 4. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to move this over so it becomes positive, and I'm going to rewrite it. So add x squared plus 2x plus 4 is equal to 0. Okay, and you can rewrite it so that when we're graphing it, step 1, we're looking for the AOS. A is 1, B is 2, C is 4. Remember, the AOS is x equals negative b over 2a. So I'm substituting x equals negative 2 over 2 times 1. That gives you negative 1. Step 2 says find the vertex, so we know it's negative 1, another number, which we're going to find out in just a moment. Anytime you see an x, replace it with a negative 1. So negative 1 squared plus 2 times a negative 1 plus 4. And you end up with 1 minus 2 and then plus 4. And that gives you 3. 3 goes on top.